Grabe talaga yung nangyaring pag-arrest kay Duterte nung last few days and ngayon nasa Hague na siya para humarap sa lahat ng mga krimen na ginawa niya. At alam mo ba na lately ang nakikita ko is yung anak ni Duterte na si Kitty Duterte ay lumabas na kung ano-ano yung mga sinasabi niya at parang nagiging biktima pa daw ang pamilya niya dito. Ngayon, dahil sa mga kanyang lumabas sa statement, meron tayong isang babae na parte din ng kabataan na halos kaedad ni Kitty Duterte na sumagot sa kanyang statement. At ang kasama natin ngayon para pag-usapan natin itong sobrang mainit na usapan tungkol sa pag-aresto kay Rodrigo Duterte ay si Attorney Rene Co ng Kabataan Party List. Welcome to the show, Attorney Rene.
Magandang hapon sa iyo, Chris. Maraming salamat sa pag-imbita dito. It's an honor to be here in your podcast, in your show.
Yeah, okay. And I'm so happy you're here and I'm glad you accepted the invitation. Kasi, alam mo, yung usapan natin ngayon ay mainit talaga at gusto ko talaga marinig ang perspective ng ating mga kabataan. At umpisa na natin yung nagawa ka ng statement. Bakit nga ba nagawa mo yung statement? Ano yun? Impulsively ba na nakita mo yun at sumagot ka na lang? Or what was going through your mind when you saw Kitty's statements and her behavior and her attitude?
Yung context po is 'di ba inaresto si Duterte. And bilang response, meron siyang play-by-play commentary. Meron siyang Instagram live, meron siyang mga Instagram stories claiming na vini-victimize yung family niya, si Duterte, ng mga authorities sa pag-serve ng warrant na yon. So siguro sa amin, kami po sa Kabataan Party List, hindi na bago sa meron kaming kasama na biglang i-arestuhin by being part of a mobilization or maybe just expressing their right to speak. Familiar yung tactics. Pero for me, parang grabe, the gall. I'm appalled doon sa mga sinasabi ni Kitty Duterte. Kasi nga, sinasabi niya na hindi siya pinapakain, or even na nasaan yung due process. Pero kung makikita natin yung kabuuang process by which how the arrest warrant was served, ay mahinahon na in-approach ng authorities si Duterte, in-inform kung saan siya pupunta. Even pagdating ng Villamor Air Base, binasahan ng Miranda rights, pinakain, comfortably ay nakaupo sa isang chair. This is in stark contrast sa lahat ng mga kabataang inaresto during the lockdown. Kung maalala natin, marami silang nagpahayag ng mga kanilang mga issue, ganyan, or even yung mga kabataan na biktima ng war on drugs. Diba? Oo.
Iba, at least nga to si Duterte na-arrest. Yung iba nga pinatay, wala nga pagkakataon na ma-arrest o kaya at least i-defend yung sarili nila. And as a matter of fact, interesting na banggit mo, nung dinala nga si Duterte sa Villamor Air Base, alam mo kung saan siya nakaupo? That's the presidential chair.
Ay.
Oo, ganun ka pinagbigyan, comfortable siya. Hindi lang to any particular room. It was the office or the room where the president will go pag dumadaan sila ng Villamor Air Base. Tingin mo ba yung pagpe-play victim ni Kitty Duterte? Saan nanggagaling yun? At bakit sa tingin mo marami pang mga tao na sumusuporta sa mga Duterte?
I think she's projecting. Marami siyang takes online na siya raw yung victim si Rodrigo Duterte. Pero ang reality, victimizer si Rodrigo Duterte. He's a murderer. His hands are bloodied with the lives of the youth na inend, na natapos dahil sa kanyang bloody war on drugs. So yung kanyang pinanggagalingan, it's actually the opposite. Yung mga victims' narratives ay lahat ng mga namatay noong bloody war on drugs. That's 30,000 Filipinos. Tapos ilan yung family members na naiwan nila? Ilan yung mga classmates, yung friends nila na nakita na lang bigla on the news or even nakahandusa yung kanilang neighbor, duguan, yung kanilang dugo dumadanak sa lansangan. That's millions of Filipinos na affected. Sa akin po, I was second year undergraduate student ng UP Diliman, 2016. So, tas 2022, pa-exit na ako ng law school. Bale, halos my entire college life we are under the thumb, the iron fist, kumbaga, of Rodrigo Duterte. And yung kinakaharap namin every news night, no? A possible newscast na may kabataang namatay. Ka-age ko, or even younger than me. Meron nga, 3 years old.
Yeah, wow.
Diba? So, meron din yung, as in mga sanggol. Sanggol si Baby River, for example, hindi na nagkaroon ng chance na even makahinga. Dahil noong pinanganak siya, nilabas sa womb ng isang political prisoner, ay hindi man lang nahawakan ng nanay, hindi man lang napadede. So, yun yung totoong victims' narratives and hindi yung kay Kitty Duterte.
Alam mo, that's so good na binabanggit mo itong mga to kasi nga nakakalimutan ng mga tao kung sino ba talaga yung totoong biktima dito. At ang nangyayari kasi ngayon, sinasabi nga, narinig ko yung mga chants ng mga Duterte supporters at nagugulat ako kasi ang mga narinig ko mga sigaw nila ay wala daw tayong utang na loob. Ano masasabi mo doon?
Utang na loob for what? Diba? Actually, parang kahapon, I had a chance to be interviewed about this as well, no? Mga maraming sinasite na may mga progressive legislation that happened during his term. For example, Child Unifast, no? Or even yung pagbilis ng mga tren, etc. Pero, just a reminder, ito ay pinaglaban ng mga legislators na nasa House of Representatives, nasa Senate. Ito'y pinaglaban ng mga organizations sa grassroots na pinagpanawagan kung anong kailangan nila. No? Actually, yung laging sinasabi sa amin, no, mga scholar ng bayan, sayang yung buwis namin sa inyo kung kukontra lang kayo lahat sa gobyerno. Kasi ako, UP student, maraming mga kakilala ako, scholars ng bayan dahil nag-aaral sa state or local university or college. Pero sa amin, no, yung pag-criticize ng mga mali na ginawa ng gobyerno, yun yung service sa bayan. Kasi, namang kami, no, yung Jose Rizal sinasabi niya lagi, we're pag-asa ng bayan, we're tagamana ng kinabukasan. Namang, we stand by, we sit here, we do nothing while we watch the world burn. We watch society go on. Alam namin kung anong pwedeng magawang better. Tapos, hayaan lang namin yung expectation na you just sit there and be grateful. Sa amin, ang gratefulness, it comes with knowing what is better, knowing what is wrong, and then correcting it.
Yeah.
So, yun yung siguro sentiment ko doon sa sinasabi na utang na loob.
Okay, ako naman, alam mo, wala akong utang na loob para kay Duterte. Wala tayong utang na loob para kay Duterte. Trabaho niya yan bilang presidente, nagawin yung mga pinagmamalaki nilang nagawa niya.
Tama.
Okay,
Diba?
unang-una, pangalawa, it's a halo effect. Dahil ba may tingin yung nagawa siyang tamang isa o dalawa na pwede na palampasin lahat ng mga kasalanan at krimen na nagawa niya? Hindi tama yun, di ba?
Tama.
Kaya nagugulat ako pag narinig ko itong mga kwentong ganito. Ngayon, yung pagka-arrest kay Duterte, may mga nagsasabi naman na labag daw yan sa batas. Ano yung masasabi doon sa pagsabi na nalabag daw yan sa batas?
Actually, I'm not sure if nasagap mo, may mga ilang vloggers din na nagsuspew na rin ng hate against...
Oh.
Yeah, me. Oo.
Oh, okay. Hindi ko pa nakita. Okay, go. Ano yung ano mo doon? Sige nga, kwento mo nga yun.
Dahil merong take online, and actually I think it's proliferating na, that the manner of arrest was not in compliance with the Rome Statute. Una, ironic. Kasi, di ba umalis nga tayo ICC? Yeah. Bakit ngayon sinasite natin yung Rome Statute? In fact, si Duterte mismo yung lumabas, yung gustong hindi magpailalim sa Rome Statute. Okay, sige, sure. Pero ang sabi nila, Article 59.3 was not complied with. Kasi Article 59.3 provides that pwedeng mag-avail yung i-aresto ng kanyang right to interim release by applying it with the competent authorities of the custodial state, no? And I think ang interpretation nila yung mabilisang pagsusulat ng prohibition, PRO sa Supreme Court, that is its availment of that right, which we know now that the Supreme Court ruled na hindi nila ginrat ang PRO kasi hindi na-establish ng petitioners yung right for its availment.
Right.
But okay, nonetheless, sige. Ang interpretation natin sa 59.3 ay, if you read the entirety of its provision, it's contemplating the exercise of this authority by a state party. So basically, 59.1 says, okay, state party. So, yung applicable yung rules na to, the ICC, the Rome Statute rules, sa mga miyembro, no? So, syempre, you could also say na in the Philippines, in compliance with customary international norms, pwede niyang sundin. Pero, mas binding ito sa state parties. So now, hindi state party ang Philippines. So, ang kanyang ginawa, no, ay ang pwedeng interpretation, the custodial state, pwedeng hindi Philippines yan. Pwedeng ibang state na state party doon sa Rome Statute. So ngayon, di ba, ang nangyari, nasa Netherlands, numeratually sila sa Netherlands, no? Siguro ang interpretation doon ay yung Netherlands, yung custodial state, yung state party na mag-apply yung Article 59, then doon niya pwedeng i-invoke yung right na yun to interim release. Though, meron din namang, I'm not sure if you've heard, then may mga other interpretations din from mga may kaalaman sa international law, maaari din ma-interpret yung custodial state to be the Philippines. But nonetheless, it does not void the arrest. No? Hindi naging irregular yung ginawang arrest kay Duterte. The due process was provided to him. No? Yung spirit of the law of the ICC was complied with. So, ganyan yung stance na.
So, bakit galit yung mga sumusuporta kay Duterte dito sa pag-aresto sa kanya?
No. I think yun yung crux of the question din. Kasi sa amin, sa Kabataan Party List, I'm not sure if nakikita mo rin to, active talaga yung mga trolls online, di ba? We can say na sa amin, marami yung tumitingin doon sa narrative niya and nako-convince, which is that kailangan ng discipline because talamak yung droga, daming addict, and therefore, kailangan ng firm hand para i-resolve ito. Sa amin naman, no, hindi baril ang solusyon sa droga. No? If there's a drug epidemic in the Philippines, no, the solution must be health, must be rehabilitation. No? And if there are any questions on discipline, dapat ba human rights abuses na ang isukli, no, sa mga kabataan na if we remember, no, yung mga kabataan na pinatay, hindi naman sila drug addicts eh. They're innocents. They're tawag sa kanila collaterals, and forgive my language, no, may ilan kasing sinabi na shit happens. And yun excuse, di ba? Sa mga deaths na hindi naman accounted for doon sa drug war, pero it's for the purpose of meeting a quota, di ba? Or even just na may galit or may particular hindi nagustuhan yung pulis sa isang kabataan, yan ang sukli ay bala. Hindi tama yun.
Okay. Ngayon, with regards to naman, yung mga tao ngayon na nagsasabi naman na yung PNP natin ay abusado na at hindi na daw tama yung nangyayari ngayon sa ating bansa at lumalala na daw yung pagkalat ng droga ulit at krimen mataas daw ngayon. Ano masasabi niyo doon?
Ako, mas ma-attribute ko again yung fault kay Rodrigo Duterte. If we remember the height of the pandemic or years before, merong mga drug lords na na-identify. Diba? Pero ano yung ginagawa ni Rodrigo Duterte? Hindi naman niya ini-issue ng warrant of arrest, wala namang announcements of greater investigation laban sa kanila. What happened? They go scot-free.
Yep.
Diba? Napoprotektahan sila. He goes against yung pushers, yung as in desperate for money, na walang mapuntahan na iba dahil mataas yung presyo ng bigas, ng bilihin, wala silang bahay. The state has failed them because they don't receive the social services, the basic necessities that all of us as humans have a right to. So may ganong desperate measures silang napupuntahan. Ang solution ba dun is patayin na lang silang lahat or we eliminate the problem at the roots. So solve natin yung poverty, di ba? And you solve natin yung sources of these drugs, no? Let's go after the drug lords, which he failed to do in his administration.
As a matter of fact, naalala niyo yung mga magnetic lifters?
Oo,
may mga 3 billion to 6 billion worth of drugs na pikit mata. Parang kasi hindi ba na si Duterte nag-comment doon? Parang wala siya sinabi. Never siya nagsabi ng bakit nakawala yun. Hanapin niyo kung paano, sino nagpunta. Saan nagpunta yung mga drugs. Walang ganun. Tahimik siya sobra.
Bigla na lang din nating makikita na he's rubbing shoulders with these drug lords. Diba? A very far cry from what we're expecting from the highest official of the land.
Yes, totoo yun. And not only that, yung yung problema ng taas ng bilihin was actually him that caused it.
Yeah.
Because of his pag-utang. Dahil before Duterte came into power, the national debt was only at 5 trillion. By the time he left, it was at 13. Sinabi pa niya na dahil sa pandemya daw.
Yeah, and Pharmaly scandal was also a thing, no? Kung saan nagkaroon ng manufacturing of needs for face shields and then magkaroon ng manufacturing of limited supply of kung saan magagaling yung face masks, face shields. Ang naging result dun is sobrang gumanaan siya. Yung mga may monopoly nang nagbenta ng gantong limited supply ko for a particular time.
Na mga dayuhan.
Yeah,
hindi ba lang Pilipino?
Diba?
Okay. So, okay, I have a question. Naalala ko lang pala, recently kanina lang, nakita ko yung video pala yung kay General Torre na sinasabi niya, hihilain ko yan. Ano sa tingin mo? Did he abuse his authority, General Torre?
Sa bahagi natin, naniniwala tayo sa maximum tolerance na ginagawa ng PNP dapat. So, in all instances ay dapat sa paggamit ng use of force, they don't until na parang meron ng obstruction of justice that's happening, no? And even then, we have to give due respect to the rights of the citizens na kaharap nila. Iba syempre yung power dynamics dun eh. Kung police, military, may training yan, may physical training, may literal arms.
Yes.
No? Ang citizens, they're just citizens. So, may ganong principle na dapat upheld, no? Pero in this case, kung makikita natin, no, na parang insistent, makulit na nariyan, pero hindi naman talaga ina-abuse si Duterte, wala namang paghihilang ginagawa sa kanya. He is being guided gently nga eh. This is in stark contrast na marami ako nakasalumuhang activist. I'm an activist, no? Kung i-treat ng police as in literally kung makahila ng shirt, nakaka-tear ng mga clothing, natatanggalan ng glasses, etc. And even kahit anong sigaw namin na tigal yan, hindi naman ginagawa, hindi naman kami pinapakinggan. Compare doon sa video na lumabas, no? Parang wala ngang ganong klaseng nangyayari. May nakita I'm not sure if nakita mo na yung picture ni Kitty Duterte, yung may dalawang butas sa kanyang shirt, no? Kung again, i-compare natin sa many youth, no, na binalutan ng tape sa ulo, 'di ba? Binalutan ng tape, pinusasan, tapos naglagay ng karatula na wag tularan, pusher ako, even though that's not true. Yun yung pagkawala ng pride na sinusukli sa atin na mga mamamayang Pilipino na lahat tayo naninirahan. We're going about on our lives, but now we have to live with this oppressive policy of war on drugs, war on dissent ni Rodrigo Duterte. Ako, I'm relieved, no, that there's justice. Finally. It's starting now. Pero naalala ko lang din nung day na yon. Hindi ako nagse-celebrate kasi naalala ko lahat ng nangyari. Lahat ng, meron akong mga friends na namatay during the war on drugs, the war on dissent. No? They didn't deserve yung fate na yon na just because they're voicing out the truth of the experiences of the youth, of the people. Marami actually na biktima ni Rodrigo Duterte. Lawyers were killed.
Yes.
Journalists were killed. No? Indigenous peoples, environmental defenders. All of that ay victims ni Rodrigo Duterte. So, nung narelive ko lahat yung mga instances na yun, mabigat sa puso talaga yung everyday yun yung kaharap mo. And only now, 10 years, 9 years later, do we get justice. I'm relieved pero mabigat. And I hope na ang kabataan, no, we're all okay kahit papaano. So, magdamayan tayo during this time, pero tuloy pa rin ang laban.
Napansin mo ba that mga kabataan ba natin ngayon ay mas marami ba sumusuporta kay Duterte at nabubudol pa ba niya? O kaya mas marami ngayon ay nagigising na?
Actually, mas marami ang nagigising, no, in my opinion. Dahil actually, yung opinion na to, hindi naman to hinigop lang sa hangin. Bilang kabataan party list, it's a campaign trail. We go around schools, we go around communities. We ask yung kabataan ano ba yung issues na pakiramdam nila. And even, ano yung appreciation nila ng nagdaang administrasyon tungkol dito sa paano na-address yung issues nila, no? Actually, yung kanila, no, the past administrations, no, whether Marcos, whether Duterte, mahirap pa rin ang buhay ng kabataan. Mahal pa rin ang edukasyon, mahal yung presyo ng bilihin, etc. So, sa amin, tatanong namin, no, bakit ano bang pagtingin nyo doon kay Duterte nung time niya? May ilan nag-admit naman, no, na, dati binoto ko to, dati supporter ako nito. Pero ngayon, nung nakita ko na, ano yung treatment sa kabataan, sa mga Pilipino nung COVID, no? Forcible lockdown, draconian lockdown even. Yung bloody war on drugs, no? And even yung pagrarub niya ng shoulders with foreign powers rather than unahin yung sa Philippines, magigising ang kabataan. Kasi meron kaming paniniwala, may pinag-aaralan kami kung paano ba dapat gumalaw ang isang, well, not only president, pero citizens.
Yes.
It's so incompatible to yung parang pinapakita niyang face. So, I'm proud to say na maraming kabataan nagising. Ang kailangan lang ngayon, no, ay beyond the frustrations being expressed on social media. That's valid. Kasi ang frustrating ng mundo natin, kailangan din natin i-translate yon beyond the keyboard, beyond the comfort zones of our home, and paghanapan yung isa-isa. At magkilos, no, let's join organizations. Let's design campaigns, design efforts na grupo-grupo ang gumagalaw para mas gumagalaw ang yung perspectives natin.
So, tingin mo ba ang problema ngayon natin sa ating bansa ay hindi yung mga kabataan but yung mga mas matatanda?
That's frequently, binobato din sa amin na parang marami din naman kaming kabataan na every time I go to a forum, for example, leadership training, voters education, yung usual tanong ay, how do I convince my parent that this is all okay? Kasi, I get it. Parents are worried when ang kabataan ay nagmumukhang politically involved. At this climate, na ang political involvement, ang isusukli agad sa'yo, red tagging. Diba? Ang isusukli sa'yo, ay, terorista ka, komunista ka, when we're just, being critical. So, may bahagi na may recognition kami ng experiences ng kabataan na may kahirapang makausap yung aming older generations, parents, grandparents, no? But actually, if we look at statistics, yung approval rates ni Marcos, ni Duterte, that cuts across the board. Actually,
it does, okay.
Diba? So, hindi siya particularly one generation for another. It's actually more based on class, no? The economic classes A, B, C, no? Sila yung actually may usual high approval rates ni Marcos, ni Duterte. So, sa amin, no, it's more of a matter of those who enjoy more capital, sila yung nakakakita ng greater support for these. Pero sa amin, parang kailangan lang mapukaw ng mas marami, no? Na even though comfortable yung pagkakaroon ng capital, it means na may comfort sa may pagkain tayo, may bahay, ganyan. There's a lot wrong with the different regimes. Up until now, continuing yung killings of innocents, whether it be IP sila, or because of the war on drugs that's out right now, it's still ongoing, or even activists, lahat ng mga critical voices na pinapakita kung ano yung mga mali ng mga administrasyon na to, kailangan makita natin that these people, they're fighting for all of us, no? Regardless of the different backgrounds that we have. Maraming masang api. and they deserve time on their spotlight. The issues deserve their time on the spotlight.
Okay. And what do you think right now, compared nga natin yung panahon ni Duterte to Marcos naman, to BBM, how do you feel about things right now compared to the previous administration?
Actually, makikita ko na not much has changed regarding doon sa administrations ni Duterte and ni Marcos. Ngayon, under the Marcos administration, we're seeing rising prices. No? We're seeing 60 pesos of rice. Actually, when we go around communities, yung main nilang complaint, yung angal, and yung kahirapan na bit-bit nila. No? And with that, the rising prices of education. We've actually flagged na sa bahagi ng kabataan, marami ang tumututol sa pagtataas ng tuition. Every year na lang, tataas yung tuition 6%, 5%. Ngayon, it's so normal for kabataan for a semester, 100,000 pesos yung semester, no? I think before, mga prestigious schools like LaSalle, Ateneo lang yung naririnig natin, di ba? But now, a lot more schools, ganun na yung benchmark. So, for us, education should not be inaccessible and expensive, no? Unfortunately, kay Duterte, kay Marcos, it's still that, no? Hanggang ngayon, gutom ang mga mamamayang Pilipino. Ang findings nga actually, 64% of Filipinos in the SWS survey noong January self-report to be hungry. This is the highest in 20 years.
Wow, 64%,
Yes,
okay.
That's like constantly hungry. There's a food crisis ongoing right now. There's an education crisis, there's an environmental crisis. Ramdam ng kabataan yung heat wave, for example, nag-suspend ng classes a week prior lang because hindi ma-stand yung heat. Lalo na pag in case, dahil may uniform policy pa yung kabataan, long sleeve, tapos 2 layers, walang aircon. May himatay ang kabataan sa loob ng ating schools. But up until now, aggressive pa rin yung paggamit ng fossil fuels, aggressive pa rin yung destructive mining. Hanggang ngayon, nandyan pa rin yung banta ng flooding, pagkaparating na yung iba't ibang bagyo. No? Last year, we had 6 major flooding events in a month. No? So, all of this, nothing is different.
But di ba Kabataan Party List, you guys have been in Congress for how many terms na?
We've actually, for 6 consecutive congresses, no, ay nakaupo sa pwesto.
Matagal na.
Yes, we've been founded 2001, and since 2007, nakaupo na kami.
So I'll push back a bit. You've been part of it. You guys have been part of it, your party list. You're part of you have the power of the purse. And the DPWH has one of the biggest budgets.
Yes,
and yet we talk about floods. What have you guys done para matulungan na hindi na nag-aaksaya ng pera, billion on the DPWH and then solve the problem of the flooding?
Actually, tama, no? The Congress has the power of the purse. But actually, in particularly, the House of Representatives, sa kanilang manggagaling yung unang bill, so yung General Appropriations Bill from the National Expenditure Program na ipopropose ng NEDA and niakit siya sa Senate. Kabataan Party List, alongside the Makabayan Bloc, has always been the most active critics and yung nag-aaral ng budget para yung mga pupunta dyan sa floor ay kailangan niyang i-defend yung budget niya, no? So, what we do sa Kabataan Party List, no, bilang naging bahagi din ng isang legislative season, ay we do not sleep. Just reading through the NEP, yung mga iba't ibang proposals, and tinitignan yung irregularities. No? And yung isa nga na flag, no, is yung flood control projects. Ano ba yan in reality? Because billions of pesos are spent over this. Pero what are they actually, no? Ang findings natin, no, if you read the reports, it's mostly clearing out yung canals para walang hindi siya barado, ganyan, or even yung pag may manhole, di parang aayusin nila kung ano siya sira, and then, okay, that's called a flood control project. So, that's not actually what we mean or what we look for when we say long-term flood control. What we want is a national sewage system na yung flood kapag nandyan na ay mabilis na makakaagos sa mga rivers and then sa seas natin and hindi siya masastock sa bahay natin. Ako po, taga Malabon po ako. And so, notorious ang Malabon for being, the flood capital of the Philippines. Last year, nabaha yung bahay namin. No? And it actually took longer than compared ko nung Kabagat 2012, 2010 Ondoy, 2009 Milenyo, na humupa. No? And that's because of that. So kami, patuloy yung scrutiny, yung critical scrutiny of the budget. And actually kami sa Makabayan Bloc, including yung Kabataan Party List, Gabriela Women's Party, ACT Teachers Party List now, and Bayan Muna before, we propose our own alternative, no, to the budget na pinopropose ng NEDA. It just so happens na ang record niya, no, ay hindi yun yung ina-adopt ng Congress. No? Ang ina-adopt nila is yun sa JD. But we're continuously hopeful na itong alternative bill namin of the budget, we lobby it sa Senate. No? We talk to members of the bicameral to say, ito yung dapat na laman ng budget and hindi yung gantong narami yung flood control projects, etc. Yun yung mga iba't ibang efforts on that part, on that front.
Okay, good. Okay, I like that. Kasi ako, I'm an advocate of balanced budget.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to lessen the budget. Kung ako lang. I really believe that is the problem of inflation and why tumataas ang mga bilihin dahil sa paggastos ng gobyerno na wala namang pondo. Kasi di ba mas mataas yung budget natin kumpara sa ating revenues. At yun ang nakikita kong problema sa dami-dami ng utang na pumapasok. Kaya I give you that challenge. Being part of the Congress with the power of the purse na sana makita natin yun.
Ako din, if you allow me to push back then, no?
Sure.
Sa amin, naniniwala kami na, beyond yung matter ng dapat mas mataas yung budget in the first place, etc., naniniwala kami sa saan ba napupunta ang budget? Dapat napupunta ito sa social services.
Yep.
Unfortunately, no, a lot of the times, kung saan napupunta yung budget, hindi natin natatrack yan. Hindi na natin mahanap yan. Lalo na kunwari, for example, now, the 1.3 trillion pesos on infrastructure, for sure, maraming cuts yan. Si governor, si construction company, etc. Way beyond doon sa actually necessary amount ng paggawa ng isang building. Just to maybe share briefly, galing kaming schools. And sa schools, even administrators complain about yung current standing policy ngayon na before, schools can magko-quotation sila, maghanap ng quotation para sino gagawa ng building na to. And it's cheaper. Now kasi, wala silang choice. It all has to go through DPWH. And yung DPWH projects, they're all more expensive. So, saan napupunta yung budget na yan? So, we believe that if maayos lang natin talagang natatrack yung budget kung saan pupunta, okay, lakihan natin yung budget. Ilagay natin ng marami sa social services. Ano na on? Education.
Okay. So, I think we agree naman on the same idea. Tanggalin lang yung corruption.
Tama, diba?
Kasi pag tinanggal mo yun, actually, you'll have a balanced budget. Because I believe the corruption is about 30%. And I think I'm being conservative of the budget. So, okay. That was a good discussion. But sige, just on the last note na lang siguro, no? Just to end this, I wanted to ask you, where do you think it's going with regards to the Philippine politics? Tapos na ba tayo doon sa era ng Duterte? O tingin mo ba anong mangyayari in 2028? And what will happen with the case with the former president?
Yeah. Sa bahagi naming kabataan, actually kami, suklam na kami sa gantong klaseng politics. I'd like to again cite statistics.
Okay.
Merong study na ni-release ng youth civic engagement in Southeast Asia. And yung Philippines, yung isa sa mga measure nila. I'm not sure if nakita mo to, pero meron din kasing parang circulate na parang 20% of youth are open to non-democratic rule. May ganung lumabas.
Okay,
no?
wow.
Although, open, no? So, and also 20% lang siya, so 80% ang hindi. Pero, yung mas i-highlight na statistics for me ay yung 60 or 54% of youth are fed up or no longer trust this political system. And 70-something% want to join organizations because they want to be involved in socio-political causes. Meaning, sa bahagi ng kabataan, no, in terms of where this Philippine political system is going, a lot of us are disillusioned, or a lot of us are jaded with this. But that 70-something%, that is mobilizable force na willing na magpasok ng organizations, yung advocacies nila ay i-express in the manners na they find fit para baliktarin na yung gantong klaseng sistema. So sa amin, syempre may readings dyan, no? I'm sure online na, bangayan lang nagtagtaw ng Marcos, ng Duterte, no? This is all just political families clashing with each other. Pero, what's opportune naman is a dictator, a murderer, is going to be held accountable. The international body that looks at the criminal charges of certain individuals against sectors, groups, humanity, no? Meron ng initial findings, no, and gusto nang mag-delve deeper, no, sa kanyang charge against crimes against humanity.
Yes.
It is now the time na makuha natin yung alternative that we'd like and we want to fight for. So kami po sa Kabataan Party List, we advocate for the alternative politics of hope and struggle. And it means, no, hindi tayo nasa outsider lang or nanonood lang, pero we go, mahayaan nating maputikan ang ating paa. Kasi tayo ay bubuo nito brick by brick, itong alternative politics na to. It means, no, to hold Duterte accountable so that no other dictator replaces him, comes into term, uses his power to abuse it and conduct human rights violations or allow the proliferation of human rights violations. We have to have our advocacies, have our demands, our campaigns known. And it means voicing them out. It means wielding campaigns. Sama-sama marami na gagawin to. No? So, bahagi namin, may ganyang aspect ng bangayan ng families. Pero we'd like to turn the opportunity for us, for the youth, for the people.
Okay, that sounds good. And that's all the time we have. And unfortunately, mukhang maganda pa itong usapan natin sana. But hopefully, maybe in the future, I'll also be able to invite you guys pag may mga iba't iba pang mga